So we continue to look at the confrontation clause, and we're asking, what are these things that are testimonial? Because we learn in Crawford versus Washington that statements that are testimonial, and that's the key word, are not going to be admitted in a criminal case against a defendant, even if it satisfies one of the hearsay exceptions. So remember, in order to get something in against a criminal defendant um, in a criminal case, you have to first show that if it's hearsay, you have a hearsay exception, and then you have to show that it is not testimonial in order to satisfy Crawford versus Washington and the confrontation clause. So, what exactly is this thing that is testimonial or not? And we're looking at that in the Davis versus Washington case. And in that case, we have actually there are two cases in Davis versus Washington: the Davis case itself, and then Hammond versus Indiana, a companion case. So in Davis versus Washington, these are calls that are made to a 911 operator, and at least the transcript of the call makes it seem like it is currently an ongoing situation. Uh, the caller says that her boyfriend is then beating on her, and she's asked, "Is he drunk?" No, he's not drunk. Does he have a weapon? No, he doesn't have a weapon. And then they ask for the name and provides the name, last name, and then the first name and middle initial. And at some point, then the caller says he just ran out the door. Now, when you actually look at the facts of Davis, they can't literally be true. It can't be that he is actually there beating on her as she's talking on the phone. At least not, if this is in any way a normal person, why would the beater allow her to call the police? It seems to me that the facts of this case are ones that have just transpired, and in fact, the reasoning of the court suggests they have just transpired, because the court says that getting the defendant's birthday, how is that relevant to responding to an ongoing situation? The court says that getting the defendant's birthday is helpful and about ongoing or resolving the ongoing situation, because the police need to know if they are responding to a violent felon. They need to run his records to find out if the person that they are going to meet up with to arrest is a violent felon, and so they'll know how to respond to that person. And so if that's the case, if they're allowed to collect the information about his birthday after the caller says he's run out the door, then in order to apprehend this person who's immediately left her house, she can call the police and report his birthday. So seemingly, even if the thing she describes as being contemporaneous, he's currently beating me, even if those things are in the immediate past, the very soon past, then that is still sufficiently contemporaneous to allow the police to respond to this guy who's just run out of the house. That we'll allow that not as testimony, but as an effort for her to get help, because he could come back and do it again. That she's trying to get him arrested before he has a chance to return, or that she's trying to get him arrested in the immediate flight from this crime. And so the court says in that situation, when you are calling to seek help, you're calling to report a crime that the court describes as ongoing, but is more accurately, I think, described as immediately past. That is not for the purpose of offering testimony in a case subsequent, but in an effort to resolve the current situation. The Hammond versus Indiana situation, where the police arrive responding to a domestic violence situation, that case, the court says where the parties are separated and the police talk to the man and the woman separately, that's very much analogous to Crawford versus Washington. And in that case, those statements would be offered in anticipation of the criminal trial. Where in the Davis versus Washington case, if we can say These statements are about seeking an official police response to an ongoing or immediately past situation. Those statements are about getting help from the police. Once the police have arrived, the situation has calmed down. Those statements are about making statements we anticipate will be used for the litigation itself, or the litigation that's forthcoming. And statements for forthcoming litigation, those are just like in Crawford versus Washington, those are testimonial. It's very important to remember in all areas of evidence that quite often mens rea matters. Why did you make the statement? Think back to the Narcisco case for statements from medical diagnosis. If you think you're making the statement to diagnose it, to have someone diagnose and treat you, that statement is admissible as an exception. Here, if the statement is made to respond to an ongoing current situation that you need police assistance with, that's not testimonial. That's not for the purpose of litigation. Why you make the statement matters in so many areas of evidence, and here it matters under the Confrontation Clause. Are you making the statement much like a deposition so that it can be used in the trial, or are you making the statement to get help? To get help, not testimonial, doesn't implicate confrontation. Making the statement to preserve the testimony, to preserve the information for trial later, that is problematic for all the reasons that it was regarded as historically problematic, that the court identifies in Crawford as a problem for the Confrontation Clause.